This is the Domestic Draft
Man.
Podcast. I'm Evan Bierman here with Dan Sloak. We've got a special guest coming on today. And we're going to be talking some Bears, Bulls, MLB offseason signings, fantasy football, those good things. Let's start it off. Dan, what are you drinking?
I have a Bohemian style Pilsner from North Park Beer Company called Bird Park. North Park Beer Company is one of my favorite breweries here in San Diego. It's they have one tap room, and it's very German style on the inside. They used to have a really good heft. They didn't have it when I was there recently, but I got this Bohemian style Pils. It's really good. Let me get some background information here on North Park Brewing Company because they're rather new here in San Diego. Their owner, creator, Kelsey McNair, he was a home brewer. So he began kind of brewing beer in his garage. He was actually a video game developer, then started home brewing. And his homebrew Hop Fu IPA became the single most awarded winning homebrew recipe in history in the most competitive category, which is the American IPA. So they opened up this location. Yeah. So he was doing that throughout his garage and kind of selling his beer out of his garage. And then it took him a while to get this location, a lot of crowdfunding and whatnot, and opened up in 2016. It's a really cool place. A lot of the whole interior is just like dark wood. They got a kitchen attached. That's not a part of them. It's I think it's called the Kaiserhof kitchen or something like that. They do like pretzels and sausages. So it's got that German flair to it. It reminds me a little bit of Dovetail there in Ravenswood, but a little bigger. And they're opening on their next location in Bankers Hill. And the Bird Park Bohemian style Pilsner gets a 3.7 on Untapped. There's a long description here that I could read about it, but we'll save that for another day. All you need to know is that it pairs well with a sunny day at your favorite park. So you can't drink this in Chicago for the next 3-4 months.
Yeah, that's true. Though we have decent weather here the last couple days, I guess today and supposedly tomorrow. But so the beer I got here is from Beguile Brewing. Their tap room and patio is located in the Ravenswood Industrial Corridor of Chicago. Beguile was launched in 2012 by a group of longtime friends from Michigan and offers Chicago's only community-supported brewing program, which is similar to community-supported agriculture or crop sharing. Members receive a growler or two a month as part of their membership, allowing the brewery to build an extremely close relationship with their neighbors. In addition to the monthly growler fills, you also get access to member-only events, discounts on merchandise, and additional beer purchases, stuff like that. They also have a weeknight skee ball league, Sunday yoga sessions, brewery tours, of course, and visits from local food trucks. So this beer I have here is the Beguile Blonde. It's American blonde ale brewed with honey. It's available year-round over there. It gets a 3.53 on Untapped, 5.4%. It's light, easy drinking, slightly bitter, subtle honey flavor on the back end. It's just something you could drink year-round, though. So
not a sunny day at your favorite park.
You could drink it there. You could do it, whenever.
This is drink your beer wherever you want to drink your beer, man.
Yeah, wherever you want to do it, man.
All right, cool. Let's get it going then. Our guest today is Shane Riordan. He is the executive producer of Parkins and Spiegel for 670 Score, where he is also the content and ops manager as well. He is also self-proclaimed senator of Flavortown. You can find him on Twitter. That is at Shane_Riordan, RIORDAN, and Instagram at Shane's Meats. Shane, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, man.
Guys, thank you for having me. How you doing?
Doing great, man. Appreciate you spending some time with us.
No, thank you. Now, do I introduce my drink? Is that how?
Go for it. Yeah. What do you got?
What are you sipping
on?
So
I'm trying to do a lot less beer. I try to waste my calories on my carbonated empty calories and other things. So I recently went off beer, which I haven't followed at all. I've had beer every single weekend, but I'm still saying.
But recently off it.
Yeah, recently off beer. It just hasn't. I haven't started it yet.
Got it. Got it.
So I'm drinking Weller Special Reserve. Weller is out of Buffalo Trace in Frankfort, Kentucky, on the Bourbon Trail out there. It's unique in that. And by the way, it's kind of hard to find. The Special Reserve should MSRP at like $24, $25, $26. But you can get it anywhere for like $65, $70, $80, which is, it's just not a value pick in my opinion. So when you can find it a couple times a year at MSRP, do that at Binny's or whatever. If you go to like your local corner liquor store, you're not going to find it for $25. But it's one of very few bourbons that the front facing mash bill is a rye grain instead of a wheat grain. The other popular bourbons that would have a rye grain as the front facing mash bill would be like Makers or Larceny or Wyoming or Wilderness Trail, all have a rye grain mash bill as opposed to a wheat grain mash bill. It's great. I love it. It's a pretty easy drinker. Sometimes ice, sometimes no ice. Just depends on how I feel.
Definitely. And I know, Evan, you just went down there. I know I've been there as well on that like bourbon trail for a bachelor party, and it was like 150 degrees and we're just getting free samples of bourbon. And it's not the best when you're just sweating your ass off drinking bourbon. I don't know. It's a little different.
Yeah, I just picked up some Blanton's down there. That's a cool spot. I love checking that out. That's my first time there. So definitely recommend it if you're out there. Yeah.
I was on my way back from Nashville, and I convinced my friends that, hey, we can go to Buffalo Trace. I swear to God, it's on the way home to Chicago from Nashville. It's definitely not out of the way, but it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours out of the way. We added 4 hours out of the trip.
Totally worth it, man.
Yeah.
So let's get it. I'm curious, being the executive producer, you're working at 670 Score. Did you always like grow up having a love for talk radio? Were you raised on it like in the car with your folks, or how did that all kind of start?
Yeah. So it was always talk radio for us. The Score was created in 1992, so the year I was born, just 2 months to the date before I was born. But it was a lot of WGN 720 for us, whether it be my grandpa's car or my mom and dad's car or whatever. But I remember when I was 9 or 10 years old, my grandpa took me to a 670 The Score remote, or must have been older, like 11, whenever the Schaumburg Flyers started. I think it was maybe 2001 or 2002 was their first season. Took me to a game, and Mike North and Doug Buffone were doing a remote broadcast from the field, and I fell in love with it. You mean to tell me that you can just sit here and at a baseball game get paid to talk on the radio? I fell in love with it from there. And then we were at White Sox Fan Fest when they had the All-Star game in 2003, and I made my dad sit with me outside of what was then Mac Yurko and Harry on ESPN 1000 broadcasting their full 3-hour show. We sat there the entire time and watched the entire 3-hour show. So there was nothing else that I ever wanted to do. I consider myself pretty lucky that the two stations I listened to, WGN and The Score, I trained at WGN for like 3 years. And then I went on from WGN to The Score about 5-6 years ago. So I consider myself pretty lucky and very grateful to do what I do.
So were some of those guys your idols then? Are you not like working with people that you've looked up to? And kind of how does that work?
That's the crazy part. So the half of these guys who still work at The Score were there in the early 90s when I started listening. Like Dan Bernstein's been there basically since day one. Lawrence Holmes, day one. Jay Zawoski, day one. Chris Tannehill was the producer of Boers and Bernstein in their absolute prime. And now he's my co-producer on the afternoon show. Like I've been, it feels weird to even say it because Tanny's only 36. I'm 29, but I feel like I'm working next to like this legend every single day that I've been listening to since I would go wait in the Schaumburg metro station parking lot to pick up my dad from work. Like I would purposely leave an hour early just so I could listen from 3:30 until 5:30 to Boers and Bernstein, just sitting in my 2003 Ford Explorer. Like every day I kind of have a new pinch me moment where all these guys that I looked up to, hopefully now there are kids that are my age then looking up to what we're doing now and try to inspire that generation to continue the art of talk radio.
Yeah, because they get to hear you too, right? You get to hop on there sometimes. We've heard you over the airwaves as well. And what's that like being somebody that gets to be on the radio and just kind of doing what you always wanted to do growing up?
It's nice because I don't have really any of the responsibility of having all the hot sports takes that Danny and Speaks have to have, because admittedly, like as I've gotten older, I'm not really a huge sports guy. Like growing up, it was, sports, nothing but as you get older, you develop different interests, and I love radio. I love the art form of talk radio. I love the adrenaline rush you get from booking guests and chasing somebody down and finally getting that big name. And I love the humor and the entertainment aspect of it. So that is the coolest part, to kind of be the comedic relief when Danny and Speaks need it. And Tanny and I are a great team and poking and prodding when we think we have to. But that is a very cool aspect of our show, where the other shows on the station are not as open, where the two producers have a completely open mic. Danny and Speaks encourage us to keep our mics on the entire show. when we're not in interviews, and just chime in whenever we feel appropriate. And the dynamic is great, and we're really in a groove, and whatever we're doing works. And I don't understand. I don't feel like I could be doing anything else,
Yeah, and I have to agree with you with that aspect in the environment that you've created with the having the mics on it. It feels like when you listen to your show that you are hanging out, and I'm sure you hear this all the time. It's like, oh, I'm hanging out with my friends. I feel like I'm a part of it. I know I'm talking to my buddies and Evan, people back home that listen to you on the radio still. And it's like, yeah, it's like you're hanging out with your friends, you're having takes, but also it's fun to hear the other guys chime in, and it feels more organic than it does structured and delivered, like directed. But kudos to y'all for like finding that rhythm, and really you guys are just killing it right now.
Yeah, thank you. Olin Kreutz calls it like a frat house, but in a good way, without like the other connotations of what a frat house would bring. And I think that's pretty cool. I think the goal is to make it seem like you're just eavesdropping in on a conversation at the bar or something, right?
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and hopefully that's our goal for this one too.
That's what we're going for as well.
Having a talk. So I know by following you too on social media, and you were saying as you're getting older, you're getting other interests. Cooking is obviously something that you're very passionate about. I have just got to know, what did you cook for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, so I smoked a turkey, a 14-pound turkey. It was the first year that my parents let me take the turkey all by myself.
Congratulations.
Last year,
it's a big task.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I was very nervous, and my mom wanted it done by 5:00. So I gave myself an extra hour, started it an hour earlier than I thought I would need. But Schaumburg was like 27, 28 degrees on Thanksgiving. So completely threw off the internal temperature of my smoker. So I pissed off my parents a little bit. We didn't really eat until like 6:30 as opposed to 5. My brother and sister are a little angry, but I smoked one. The first year that they let me do it all by myself. Last year, my dad, I baked it, but my dad deep fried one as like a backup just in case they didn't like mine. But of course, I knocked it out of the park. But this year, my mom handled the sides, and I did the smoked turkey.
Nice.
Gotcha.
And then another follow up to the cooking. What is one dish every person should know how to cook?
Eggs. There are, they say that the way a chef's hat started was there are something like 141 folds in a master chef's hat, and that represents the 141 ways that an egg could be cooked. If you can't cook 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different kinds of eggs, not perfectly, but if you don't have a masterful handle on it, at least to your standards, then you got to start over and do something or work on your technique a little bit. But if you can do 8, 9 different kinds of eggs, you can work with the delicate amount of heat, whether it be low or high heat for different other kinds of eggs, then you're in good shape. But like, try to impress somebody for dinner. If you can master a medium rare steak on a cast iron pan with a different variation of a potato, not a fry, not just like a roasted potato, not a mashed potato, like a fondant or a Hasselbeck or a smashed with like a duck fat or a goose fat, like a herb butter or something like that, then you're in business. But it's really all about what you like. You figure out what you like to cook, and you do your best to make that as good as possible, because if you're cooking what you like to eat, then you're going to be that much better at it.
Love that.
Yeah. So just following you on Twitter too. I mean, you're cooking all different kinds of stuff. You're doing, you're smoking some meats one day, you're making a bundt cake the next. So I guess our question is is when is the food truck going to happen, man?
Well, that Blackstone griddle I got is kind of the first step to that, in learning how to cook mass quantities of things. Because with a food truck, you're cooking a lot of things at once. You're not just going one order by one order. The hope is that you've got a line big enough to warrant multiple things at one time. And then also money. We've already established I work in radio, so I don't necessarily have the capital to just go ahead right now and buy a food truck a la John Favreau and Chef or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the nice thing about this industry is I'm trying to build up enough of a, I don't know, network where when the time comes and I'm really, when I really think I'm ready, I can tap on some shoulders to maybe get a few investors going and grab myself a $30,000 food truck and piss off to the West Coast or something like that.
Hell yeah, man. Come on down. We'll take you over here. So you were just talking like networking. You got a blue check mark there on Twitter. What's it like to be verified and have a following and being able to like reach out and say, hey, I'm cooking cheeseburgers, who wants one, and have people show up at your front door?
Well, first of all, two things. It makes you insufferable because for the first couple of weeks, you want to try to remind everybody that you've got a blue check mark. You got to widen the door frames in your apartment a little bit because your head just gets way too big. You can't fit through. But in this industry, it makes booking guests a hell of a lot easier if I can slide into somebody's DMs with a blue check mark, as opposed to just like some person with 200 followers trying to say, hey, come on this radio show. But in the grand scheme of things, yeah, it's done wonderful things for like my career, and especially the cooking stuff. When I do those burgers on that Schmeal app, it helps you in ways that when you don't have it, you just don't have the same opportunities. But in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't mean shit, because social media is an absolute hellhole and horrible place where the worst people reside.
Love it.
But
follow him on Twitter at Shane Riordan.
Yeah, Shane_Riordan. That's where you find me. But it has helped the career for sure.
So you mentioned you do the guest booking, right? So who has been your favorite guest that you've had on, and who is the hardest guest to obtain, and is it the same person or?
Okay. So my man, this is kind of taboo because he's not really that good of a guy. But when I was first starting at WGN, I might have been like 3 or 4 months in working there. I pulled the 4th of July shift, middle of the day, like 2 shows back to back, fucking 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., 2 3-hour shows. And I'm sitting back there. The WGN studios used to be at the Tribune Tower, right there on the corner of Michigan and the river, in between the river and Illinois. And we had these giant floor to ceiling windows where the studio was visible to all that foot traffic on Michigan Avenue. And then the producer studio was just behind, where I could see everybody walking out over there. And I'm just looking up for a second, and I see freaking Jeremy Piven just standing outside of the glass windows, watching the show of some no name, just on the 4th of July, one of our fill-in hosts, And I sprint out of the studio. And by the time I get down there, he's like 2 blocks down, almost all the way to Ohio and Michigan. And I just say, hey, this is crazy. I know it's the 4th of July. You're here with, his history of women. I don't know if it was a wife or a girlfriend or just a side piece or something. You're here with this woman, but I just started producing radio about 3 months ago. Would you like to come back to WGN? Because he's from here, so he knows of WGN.
Right.
Would you like to come back here and just do 10 minutes with us? That's all the time we need. And he said, man, I don't think so. I'm here on vacation with my girl. I said, okay, I get it. I hope to run into you again in the future. And bad producer move. I should have pushed him one more time. And I know that now, but I didn't do it then. I turned around and started walking away. And he turned back. He's like, hey, kid, I'll do it. Let's go. So he came back and he did like 45 minutes with us. And knowing what I know about him now and the narcissist that he is, it makes plenty of sense that he did as much time as he did. But it was a very cool experience for a young radio producer. My favorite one, though, we have, for some reason, if you're familiar with the actor Bill Fichtner, he's like a character actor. He was the bank teller in Dark Knight that the Joker shoots at the very end. He's the asshole quarterback in Longest Yard. He's the adopted father of John Hader in Blades of Glory. He's everything in every movie. You never know his name, but you know exactly who Bill Fichtner is when you see his face.
I Googled his face just now. I know exactly who this guy is.
Exactly who he is.
We had this like mid-pandemic. We were I'm trying to book different off the wall guests because we don't have any live sports. Just trying to fill a 4-hour show, 20 hours a week. And I get a hold of Bill Fichtner through his PR guy, who happens to be from like Naperville. So I was able to stand out a little bit. Thank the Lord. Bill Fichtner comes on, does like 40 minutes. And then like off the air asks me, hey, can I do this every once in a while? Can I just come on and talk sports with you guys every once in a while? Bill Fichtner's from Buffalo, New York, huge Bills fan, has zero connection to the city of Chicago, has only done like 2 movies here. He's got no family here, but every 3 or 4 weeks, I'll shoot Bill Fichtner a text and say, hey, you want to do like 20 minutes today? He's like, hell yeah. He was in Australia 3 weeks ago, doing the new Tiger King show, the Tiger King spinoff that he's in.
Wow.
And he's like, yeah, like, what's the time difference from Australia to Chicago? Let me figure this out.
We'll make it happen.
There was one time the Bills were in the playoffs. We were doing a Bills preview hit with Bill Fichtner, and his internet went out at home. Didn't have a landline, and there's barely any cell reception up there. He would always do Wi-Fi calling from his cell phone. Internet went out. He drives to the base of his gated community to try to find cell reception, and he keeps on calling me every 5 minutes to test. Hey, can you hear me? Do I have cell reception here? Is this working? Bill Fichtner, nearly an A-list actor, probably closer to the top tier of B-list, is driving around his gated community trying to find 10 minutes for a sports talk radio show in Chicago.
That's awesome, man.
It's little things like that. It's guests like that have nothing to do with sports whatsoever, but you find those connections with, like, we love movies, but we can't act. Those actors love sports and sports radio, but they're not in sports radio. You find those connections with guys who like what you do and you like what they do, and the conversations are usually great.
That's awesome. For the love of the game, man. He's just calling in Australia.
Yep.
Got to make this happen.
Yep.
If you could pick a Mount Rushmore, your top 4 guests that you could get on the show, who would they be? Maybe top 3, whatever comes to mind. Who's your great white buffalo?
Oh, right now, it's freaking Scottie Pippen, man. That guy is doing pretty much everything, but won't do anything local Chicago. And I can't tell you how many different avenues I've gone through to try to track down Scottie Pippen. But he's way up there for me in terms of relevance in the moment. Michael Jordan is obviously there, but rarely does he do radio. I don't know. Danny's a big movie guy and Speaks is a big music guy. So somebody at the top of, like, Mick Jagger would be great for Speaks. He's a big Stones guy. There are big names like that you're constantly just trying to find different contact information for, find a different way to get into somebody and make somebody believe that you're worthy of their time, that kind of thing. But it's all fluid. It's whatever is the biggest story of the moment. I just want the biggest guest for that story.
Makes sense.
Got you. So we just got a couple more questions for you. We don't want to keep you too long.
I got nothing to do.
I was gonna say, maybe you got to make dinner or something. I don't know. But
No.
So sticking on 670, what was the wildest moment that you've had in studio?
That you could share.
Yeah, that you can share, I guess.
I remember there was a story of, like, a dead person outside a window, but then he wasn't.
Not dead guy was good. Yeah. So, oh man, we are at the corner of, well, the plaza for the buildings at the corner of Michigan and Lake, right there by the Bean. And there's this giant empty vacant lot. Empty vacant lot is a double. It's mean the same thing, but there's a vacant lot behind the Illinois Center. And there's this guy laying face down, not moving for about an hour and a half. And I can't remember who noticed him. It might have been Lawrence or it might have been Speaks. I'm not sure. And we had, like, a team of reporters, me and I think it was Rick Camp at the time, like, trying to get as close to this guy down in this vacant lot as possible. We'd call the cops, call the fire department. They couldn't figure out, like, city workers couldn't figure out how to get down to that vacant lot from Lower Wacker, Lower Stetson, Lower Columbus. And about an hour, we ditched all sports content whatsoever. For an hour and a half, we were doing no sports. We were only talking about the possibilities of dead guy in the vacant lot until he moved. And then he moved and he became not dead guy. He sprinted out the chain link fence, like, made a hole in there for him. And as he was walking down what would be lower South Water right there, the cops in the fire truck were going the other direction. So they drove right by him, but they'd have no business knowing, oh, that's the guy that's laying vacant in the vacant lot dead, because he wasn't dead. He was plenty alive. He was walking the other direction.
Taking a nap.
Personally, Olin Kreutz is a great coworker of ours, and people know of the Olin Kreutz that was in the locker room and the hardened guy, and you don't mess with him. And now he's a big sweetheart, or so I thought. And I crossed a line with Olin Kreutz, thinking at this time, like 3 years ago, that our friendship was farther along than what it was. And I was just talking trash to him. He responded to one of my Instagram stories, talking trash, and I started talking trash back. And apparently I'm not allowed to do that at that time. And he said, you know what, next time I see you, you better come with your hands up. And I thought he was joking around. He was getting ready for Bears pre for like a Monday night game. I went into the studio to say what's up to him and Hub and Anthony Herron, and went in for the handshake with Olin. Olin grabbed my hands, didn't let it go, put me down on the ground in a matter of 2 seconds, had his forearm to my neck, pushing it to the ground. And Anthony Herron's in the background screaming, Olin, he's a citizen. He's a citizen. You can't do that. And it was all in jest, but Olin was just goofing around. He wasn't going to kill me or anything, but that, like, it's one of those, I keep saying pinch me moments, but like when you're in elementary school or whatever, junior high, watching Olin Kreutz center the Bears, like you never think that 15 years from then you're going to be a coworker producing his.
All right. So last question. Are there going to be any more episodes of Soup with a Beard?
Yeah. I've tried all the Bockwinkel soups by now, and I got a bad taste in my stomach from one of the ones at Aubon Payne in the building. So I've got to work my way back up to being confident enough to eat that soup. I don't know what happened, but I had a really, really bad day after the, I think it was the broccoli cheddar one, but I enjoy that series. And I think there are a list of foods that I try to avoid eating in public. Anything with syrup, like waffles or pancakes, usually soup, wings, ribs, any kind of sandwich that I can't cut small enough to fit in my mouth to avoid the mustache and beard. And
That's
soup
limiting,
was always
man.
on that.
That's a lot.
That's so limiting. Yeah.
There are so many foods that I can't eat in public. So I'm working my way up, and I try to stay as clean as possible with the soup, and they're fun, a couple minutes. But the thing is, I want to do that stuff and have our freaking sales staff monetize it, and they can never monetize anything. So it's you kind of tired of wasting my time giving away content for free. I want to get paid for it. At least give me a soup sponsorship.
That's right. Didn't you get like a grill? Did Weber send you a grill based off posts?
Yeah, I'm looking out my front bay window right now at my front porch where I had a Weber grill, and I went on vacation and I got back and it was gone. And I just tweeted my sadness about my Weber kettle being stolen. And they slid into my DMs. They're like, hey, we're going to send you a grill, send the address. I said, no, you don't have to do that. No, we'll send you a grill. They sent the grill. And since then, I probably have gotten 10, 11, 12 boxes of things from Weber. They just keep sending things. I'm running out of cabinet space. Weber, if you're listening to this, stop sending me things. I don't have enough space anymore.
Send this stuff to me. I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's great. You want to talk some sports? You want to talk Chicago sports?
Sure.
Are the Bears, when are they moving to Arlington Heights?
2025. That's
Done
legit.
Deal? Done deal?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And the NFL will pay the remainder of the lease, and it's an absolute no-brainer. As a resident of the city, and I'm sure Evan agrees, it's such a cool environment, and tailgating in the South Lot is so much fun, but it's just such a bitch to get to. It's such a bitch to leave. And granted, the infrastructure in Arlington Heights, although it's right there off 90, necessarily isn't ready for that influx of probably going to be close to 100,000 people, with people who are just going to be tailgating compared to the 80,000 that'll be in the stadium. They're not ready for it either, but it's going to be a lot easier to get to and from Arlington Heights than it is the South Loop. And you've got the Metro right there too. You get off at the Metro station, but I think it makes all the sense in the world. You got to have a venue big enough to hold the amount of Bears fans there are, and you got to have a venue that can support the biggest stages. And Soldier Field can't support the biggest stage. You can't get a Super Bowl at Soldier Field. It's not going to happen.
Right.
I think it's going to be a dome, retractable dome.
Retractable for sure.
Yeah,
retractable. Definitely have to.
I think that makes most sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're a White Sox fan, right?
Yeah, big time.
How do you feel about Kendall Graveman, first of all? And I guess they're kind of having a quiet offseason so far. Do you think they make any big splashes?
Yeah, it's bullshit. I like Kendall Graveman, but like, I'd assume they're going to trade Craig Kimbrell and get that money off the books. But the amount of money that they have dedicated as of right now, if Kimbrell's still on the team and they can't trade him, between Hendricks, Kimbrell, and Graveman it's like almost $60 million, like $58 million or something like that. You can't have that dedicated to your 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, especially when Craig Kimbrell proved that he can't pitch in any inning but the 9th inning. The Larry Garcia signing today, 3 years, don't know the money yet. is fine if Leury Garcia is your 24th or 25th man. But if Leury shows up for his 11th, 12th, and 13th seasons as the starting second baseman in 2022 for the White Sox, that's a problem. Because you look at this track of, all right, last year, trade away Nick Madrigal, bring in Cesar Hernandez because you need an upgrade at second base. That's great. Cesar Hernandez is trash, but he replaced Leury because you needed the upgrade. You don't tender Cesar because you need the upgrade from Cesar. And then you bring back Leury, who you replaced with Cesar. What's going on there? Like,
yeah, he's definitely.
You can't bring in Trevor Story. You can't bring in Conforto. You can't bring in Seager. You can't bring in. I need an upgrade. And in what's his face, Michael Taylor is what Leury Garcia would have been. So he's the guy who could have played second, short, third, center, left, right. And now you just brought Leury back. So you're not going to bring in Michael Taylor. They're frustrating, man. They're so frustrating. They should have been in on Scherzer. They should have been in on Robbie Ray. And you got at the back end, national guys come in saying the White Sox are looking for a Robbie Ray type. Okay, well, fucking Robbie Ray
he's there.
Why don't you just get Robbie Ray on a pretty affordable deal? What do you get? 115 over 6 or something?
Yeah, I think
they are
right there.
So frustrating.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that means Kopech's going to be starting?
Oh, for sure.
Next year?
Definitely a starter. Yeah, for sure. But you don't know what Crochet is because he was so damn inconsistent. You didn't get the real Aaron Bummer until the last 2 months of the year. You're going to lose Ryan Tepera unless you can bring him back. You lost Evan Marshall. Jose Ruiz is somebody you can only use in low leverage situations. And then, I mean, that's it. Yeah, Reynaldo Lopez, I guess, if you can find something left in him, but they are the bane of my existence. If you are also in love with Bane, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It's an abusive relationship.
Yeah.
Gotta love it, man. I've been in one for the last couple of years. It was the Bulls up until now. You know, just watching them get blown out by 20. Now we're thriving, man. I've seen you at the UC a couple of times. What's it like? I'll be there over winter break when I'm home.
Awesome. Last night was electric. I started off a little rough. LaMelo was taking it to Lonzo. I lost a $50 prop bet of LaMelo to score the first basket, $50 to win $550. And then he drove past Lonzo and bricked the layup off the back of the rim. A clear layup, missed a clear layup. But it's been an absolute electric environment. And I mean, the Bulls never faltered when it came to attendance. And now the 22,000 that are actually there are enjoying the hell out of it, and they should be.
Yeah, I can't wait to get back there, man. I haven't been there in a couple of years. Hopefully the energy's back. I know they've made some updates. I've been there since they've added that annex, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see that team play.
Are you going to that Laker game on the Saturday?
No, I'll be going to Raptors. Same with Evan. We're both going. It's a Wednesday. Raptors Bulls. Good Eastern Conference battle.
Nice.
Yeah. How about the Cubs? How are they doing? You like them? Your bullpen on the south side pretty much is what, 30 million less than the Cubs total roster right now?
Yeah, I don't know what they're doing either. Who they bring in today? Yan Gomes.
And we got Clint Frazier.
And Yan Gomes.
Clint Frazier, one of the bad guys in baseball, who, as a rookie with the Yankees, went to the Yankees and said, "Hey, I want to wear number 7." All right, well, Mickey Mantle wore 7, and we retired it. Yeah, I know, but I want to wear 7. Okay, well, you're Clint Frazier. Wouldn't cut his hair until they forced him, and then chose 77 to double Mickey Mantle because he's a bad guy. Yan Gomes is being brought in at 6.5 per, 13 over 2. There are only 10 catchers in Major League Baseball with an AAV above $6 million. So you're telling me you're putting him in the top third tier of MLB catchers in terms of payroll and in terms of salary, and you're going to run him as the backup?
Yeah,
or no, you're trading Wilson Contreras, or you're going to make him a first baseman, outfielder, DH. But Contreras today, I don't know if you saw the tweet with the airplanes.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's just going on vacation or if
what does that mean?
Wilson Contreras is wants out of town. I'm not sure.
You gotta love it.
Dumpster fire. They're a dumpster fire. But the Wade Miley signing's good. That's good. He was the top 10 in NL Cy Young for the last 2 years or 3 years or something. I kind of like that.
We'll be
Yeah, I thought
fielding
that
the
was good.
squad.
Maybe somebody they could flip. And then an old Cub, Javi Baez, signed with the Tigers, 6 years, 140. What do you think about that
Overpay.
one? Yeah.
It's an overpay. It's great as a White Sox fan. I mean, the playing the Tigers 19 times a year, and how many strikeouts you're going to rack up against Javi Baez?
Yeah.
I like Javi, but I don't know if I would have paid 140 or whatever it was, 124. I can't remember what you just said.
140, yeah.
140. I think it's an
For six.
overpay. 23 per is an overpay.
Yeah, he finished pretty strong with the Mets. Hit 299, I think, with them.
Yeah, but 23 per for a 300 OBP guy and 750 OPS guy career.
Yeah,
It's tough.
for sure.
I want to see some more moves, especially from our team. I know we're both Cubs fan, Evan and I want to see some more moves. I want to see some aggressive behaviors from that front office. They're just sitting on their hands, and it sucks. And franchises go through that to where they just start collecting money instead of putting talent out there in the field. And I don't think we need to be that franchise. I think we could afford to put some talent out there and sign somebody, put someone out there, make a splash, put a name out there. I don't want to see as much as P. Wizzy was fun as our first baseman. I don't think he's going to, return to form and have that kind of same production. Like, give me some players, give me some names.
You're about to print money with an on-site DraftKings studio, a
Right.
DraftKings sportsbook in a year and a half or whatever. Go ahead and spend now, knowing that the money's going to be there. Because if there's one thing that's guaranteed, it's money from gambling.
Yeah.
You've already got the deal. You got the rights deal. You're going to have an on-site money printing machine. Just spend the money.
All right. And then what do you think? Bears going to beat the Cardinals this weekend?
No, absolutely not. Cardinals are the best team in football. The Bears are not going to beat the Cardinals, especially with
Kyler
Andy
Murray
Dalton
back. Yeah.
Kidding me? God, it's going to be a dumpster fire.
Oh man,
I've said it plenty of times on the show. I don't want to watch. I have absolutely no interest in watching the Bears. If we didn't have to talk about it for 5 fucking days a week, there's no chance I'd watch the Bears.
Yeah.
All they do is make you hurt.
It's an abusive relationship. We're back at it.
Yeah, exactly.
We're back at it.
Relationship you can't leave. Yeah. So you got a score prediction then before you go?
42-13 Arizona.
Okay.
Book it.
Like that hurts already. Just
Get on one of those gambling apps, book it. All right, man. This has been a lot of fun. Really appreciate you. Really appreciate you coming in here, giving us some insight on 670 Score, what it's like to work on talk radio, and your hobbies outside of sports, cooking and grilling. Again, he is Shane Riordan. You could find him on Twitter at Shane_Riordan. You can find him on Instagram at Shane's Meats. Thanks for being here today, Shane.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right. That was Shane Riordan. Thanks so much for coming on, man. Really appreciated that.
A lot of fun.
Dan, let's get into your week 13 NFL picks. All right. Let's speed this along here. Let's get your picks. How'd you do last week?
Last week we're all right. We're 8-6. Another week where we're above 500, so we're gaining momentum. Brings my overall record for this season at 107-72, with that one tie still there lingering. But not bad. I think if you've bet with me this year, you've won money. You're up. You should be up.
All right. So let's look at this week then. We got Thursday night game. You got Cowboys at Saints. Alvin Kamara potentially going to be back. Mark Ingram potentially going to be back. CeeDee Lamb potentially going to be back.
Cowboys.
All right.
Yep.
Sunday, Giants at Dolphins.
Dolphins, man. 2 a time.
All right. Colts at Texans.
Colts.
For sure. Vikings at Lions.
Ooh, interesting. Vikings.
Yeah, definitely.
Lions stink.
Even without Dalvin Cook. Eagles at Jets.
I got to go Eagles. They need a bounce back. They look like crap.
Yeah, definitely. Cardinals at Bears.
Bears, I have to do it. Let's go.
We talked
Bear
about that
down
a little bit.
Yeah.
Definitely not. Cardinals are going to win that one. Chargers at Bengals.
Bengals.
All right. That should be a good game. Buccaneers at Falcons.
Bucks.
Yep, definitely. Jags at Rams.
Jaguars at the Rams.
Rams.
They're on a slide, and I think a Jaguar game is going to do them right.
Mm-hmm. Washington at Raiders.
Man, I don't know. Let's go Washington.
I like Washington.
Yeah.
Ravens at Steelers.
Ravens. Steelers look like I mean, do you see that stuff with Claypool? Maybe if we play music at practice, we'll do better. It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, and Tom's like,
just play
shut up
better.
and play wide receiver.
Yeah.
49ers at Seahawks.
Niners. Seattle looks awful. I'm
Seattle's
scared. I
so
got
bad.
DK.
Yeah, Metcalf.
Metcalf, man. He's
one catch.
He's
Broncos
missing.
at
Where is
Chiefs.
he? That's gonna be a really good game, but I'm gonna go Kansas City.
Yeah, I think Kansas City should win that one. If it was in Denver, I think that would be a lot closer for me.
Yeah.
Pats at Bills.
Patriots.
Okay.
Yep.
Interesting call. All right, so those are your Week 13 picks.
Book it. That brings us into my favorite segment of the show because I usually
talking about it.
Steal all of his advice. It is Waiver Wire Wednesday. Who we picking up?
All right, man. So there were a lot of injuries this week. So I got quite a lengthy list here. So let's just get started. If you're looking for a quarterback, Taysom Hill is the name to look for. He's 6% owned. He's getting the starters reps. They play Thursday night against Dallas. That's a decent matchup. And he showed last year that he could be fantasy viable with Breeze out. So I think he's going to take over that job and hold it the rest of the year. He's got good rushing upside. So I like him. Tua, viable streamer rest of the season. He's got nice matchups. Right. Jalen Waddle also looks like a strong wide receiver 1 for Miami. All right. So the big pickups this week, I think, are going to be running backs, though. We'll start with Alexander Madison. Dalvin Cook went down with what appeared to be a serious shoulder injury. Schefter reported he'll be out at least the next 2 weeks, but it could be longer than that. The team's being really candid they're not being very candid with the expected length of the absence, and they haven't put him on IR yet, which would make him out for at least 3 games. So there's a possibility he returns in a few weeks. But I think Madison is going to be a strong pickup. He's an RB1 with Dalvin Cook out. Chuba Hubbard is back on the list with McCaffrey going down and placed on IR. Chuba's ceiling's probably lower with Newton being the primary quarterback and ball carrier now. Offense is pretty bad, but he's a starting running back. He's at the very least a flex, potential RB2 some weeks. Jamal Williams is another good name. He's a good backup to DeAndre Swift, who went down during the Thanksgiving game. Potentially plays this week, but I think he's doubtful. I think you'll get at least one good game out of Jamal Williams here. Potentially a nice piece to have on your bench for the fantasy playoffs. Sony Michel also back on the list because Henderson strained.
You don't need him.
Strained his quad on Sunday. McVay said they're going to monitor that throughout the week, and that kind of opens the door for Michel. He could be potentially an every down back if Henderson is out.
Henderson's going to play.
I don't know. They're not giving a lot of information about that strained quad, but we'll see if he plays. Matt Breida, 19, 8, and 13 the last 3 weeks in PPR formats. He's getting some run alongside Devin Singletary. Zach Moss was a healthy inactive last week, so there's some opportunity there for him. Dontrell Hilliard is your boy.
Yep.
Back-to-back 18-point PPR performances, 12 carries for 131 yards and a touchdown against the Patriots this week.
Looking good. He's got some burst.
He's looking good. Deep league, maybe look at Amir Abdullah with McCaffrey on IR, I mentioned, and Chuba Hubbard. He's been averaging less than 4 yards a carry. So Abdullah seems like he's the preferred passing down guy. If you're looking for somebody who's only 1% owned. Wide receivers, got a couple here. We've mentioned Van Jefferson before. He's 49% owned. Still, it needs to be owned by more teams. 98% of the snaps in the Rams offense. Got loose for a deep touchdown this week. He's a good bet for a touchdown on any week. And Kendrick Bourne, Dan, if I said somebody was 24% owned and they're the wide receiver 25 on the year, would you guess it's Kendrick Bourne?
Not a chance.
Probably not, but he is. He's the wide receiver 25 on the year in PPR. So look for him. He's probably available. He's only owned 24% of leagues, as I mentioned. Russell Gage is another deep league guy that I would look for. Doesn't sound like Calvin Ridley's coming back. Kind of disappointed in that, but Gage has 7 and 8 targets the last 2 weeks and a score. This week he's worth looking at if you're thin at wide receiver and maybe if you lost Calvin Ridley. Foster Moreau, if you need a tight end. Darren Waller went down with a strained IT band. I don't know what that is, but it's in his knee and he might miss this week. Foster Moreau filled in for one game earlier in the year, went 6 for 60 and a touchdown. So he's a good streamer. If Darren Waller's out, they use tight end a lot in Oakland or Las Vegas, not Oakland. And if you need a defense, Miami plays the Giants this week, who aren't going to have Daniel Jones. They'll probably be starting Mike Glennon, who has just been terrible everywhere he's been. And Minnesota plays Detroit this week. So those are your 2 defensive streamers.
Boom. There it is. Follow it every single week. Waiver Wire Wednesday. help your fantasy team out. Try to make your run here towards the end of the year for those playoff spots, and try to get yourself a championship for the Waiver Wire Wednesday advice. All right, let's wrap this up. Thanks again to our guest, Shane Riordan, for joining us today. For Evan Bierman, I'm Dan Slowick. You have been listening to the Domestic Draft Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Domestic Draft, on Instagram at Domestic Draft Podcast. Our website is www.domesticdraft.com. And you can watch our show on YouTube. Just go ahead and search up Domestic Draft, drop us a subscription. And thanks again for listening. Cheers.
Peace.